Yes, indeed, kings and queens. Sounds of the man called Chronics with Alpha and Omega. As we go into our main show for this evening, is Rastafari still relevant today? This week we continue the reasoning about Rastafari and the underpinning consideration about its future, given its origins of a heady combination of strident black nationalism, prophetic intuition, and quasi-Abrahamic orthodoxy. Rastafari has always been subject to a variety of definitions and interpretations. For some, Rastafari is a religion of the Abrahamic branch. The lining of His Imperial Majesty serves as confirmation of this by way of confirming his divinity and facilitating an interchange with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, of which Haile Selassie I was defender of the faith. As is the case with standard Christian doctrine, this perspective regards the Bible, excised tombs and passages notwithstanding, as the revealed word of God. However, this adherence to biblical convention is somewhat at odds with the 6 founding principles and the philosophy of black supremacy advanced by Rastafari founding father Leonard Percival Howell. Another approach has been to regard Rastafari more as a livity, i.e. divine natural living, rather than adherence to religious doctrine. Although the two are not always interpreted as being mutually exclusive, it can result in a less rigid adherence to scripture. Indeed, it may also facilitate the reinterpretation or reworking of the scripture. Given that the founding fathers of Rastafari were advancing remarkably similar philosophies, largely independent of each other, it has been argued that not enough emphasis has been placed on the intuitive element of African culture and its role in forming Rastafari. Brother ShakaRa, at his recent The Mystic Revelation of Rastafari event, asserted, quote, "Everything that Rastafari brought and manifested is not things that were researched and studied somewhere. In your consciousness, you would see it and you would bring it out," unquote. A further example can be found in terminology. Although the term Rastafari is clearly a conjunction of His Imperial Majesty's title and the birth name, Rasta has an older Kemetic, ancient Egyptian source that predates the Solomonic lineage. This passage from the papyrus of Ani, 1240 BC, and translated by E.A. Wallace Budge in the Egyptian, quote-unquote, Egyptian Book of the Dead, is illuminating. The great Chacha chiefs who are in Rasta are Horus, Osiris, and Isis. The heart of Osiris is happy, the heart of Horus is glad, and the two halves of Egypt, Atertai, are well satisfied thereat. ShakaRa interprets Rasta in this context to mean a road or river that is symbolic of the journey between the physical self and your ascended self. When you pass to get to the house of Asar, you have to go through the house of Rasta. Similarly, renowned broadcaster and dub poet MUTABARUKA advocates a new faculty of interpretation for Rastafari that is less reliant upon biblical orthodoxy. Ideas, quotes, he says, ideas of emperors being gods existed long before the presence of the Israelites in Egypt. We as Rastafarians can find the essence of our spirituality in an Ethiopia and Egypt void of Israelite interpretation, unquote. The fact that Wikipedia begins its definition with, quote, Rastafari is an Abrahamic belief, unquote, indicates the nature of the challenge Muta is setting. This definition is by no means the only one, but it does suggest that it is widespread. Thus, the nature of the challenges as MUTABARUKA sees it, quote, we must not confuse spirituality with religion. Rastafari must not be bound by religious perceptions, because this will cause stagnation of the movement and thereby create fundamentalism. We must be open to the different cultures of Africa and not demonize them because of biblical interpretations. And I'm going to pause the show spec right there, kings and queens, to introduce our international guests. For those brothers and sisters who are interested in reading the show spec in full, please visit alkebulan.org, where you'll be able to take in all the information. And bigging up our producer, Brother Olatunji Heru, who writes these brilliant specs for you, complete with bibliography, so you can do further research, kings and queens. But for now, I would like to just check if we have our international guest on the line. Greetings and welcome, Brother MUTABARUKA. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but you have to talk more into the phone, though. You're sounding like a fire. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Give thanks, my elder brother. We're going to try and sort that out for you shortly. We're going to try and sort that out for you. And hopefully we'll get a bit more, you'll be able to hear us a bit more clearer. First of all, thank you for joining us on the show, Father Muta. As you know, we're doing this show, part 2 of our show last week, in relation to the visit of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie to Jamaica 50th anniversary, and we're going to ask you some questions regarding that. But before we do so, I do want to introduce you to our resident guest and spiritual leader of the Al-Kebulan Revivalist movement, who's also in the studio and just wants to greet you to start off with. Brother Leader Bandaka. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari. Greetings, Brother MUTABARUKA. Giving thanks and praises.
Yeah, blessed. There's a busy signal on my phone here. I don't know where it's coming from. There's a busy signal.
Okay, I'm not sure why that.
Okay, we persevere, my brother. But just to say what an honor it is to have you on our show this evening. Yes. Tendai Mwari, you there, Brother Muta?
Okay, there's some technicals happening here, Kings and Queens. I'm going to try and sort that out for you right about now. Brother Muta, anytime you can hear us again, please let us know.
Huh?
Oh, yes. So can you hear us fine?
I'm hearing you, but it's not coming too clear. It's not coming too clear. I'm hearing you, but not clear.
Okay. All right. We're still going to work it out. But we can hear you clearly still. All right. So we're going to try and persevere with it as it is, while the technicians kind of sort out the thing. First of all, Brother Muta, we want to know what has been happening on the ground in Jamaica in celebration of the 50th anniversary of His Majesty's visit. Brother Muta?
Yeah, hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, but yes, I'm hearing you.
All right. Did you hear the question? All right. What we're asking is what's been happening on the ground in Jamaica with regards to the 50th anniversary of Groundation Day and His Majesty's visit.
I'm motorcade with His Majesty's grandson, and he visited the same places that Haile Selassie visited when he came to Jamaica.
Okay.
Plus, he went to Montego Bay, and he attended a service yesterday. You know, I mean, we had an outside broadcast at the Michael College, where he passed through. He went to JC Jamaica College, he went to UTech, and he went to the university, you know.
Right. Okay. So enough things that go on. So His Majesty's grandson was in Jamaica, Kings and Queens. For those who may have had a little bit of trouble hearing that, but we want to explore this, Muta, because last week we were dealing with Rastafari and its origins and its evolution, and one of the guests, sorry, not one of the guests, a caller phoned into the show and ventured to suggest that Rastafari is not relevant. Yeah. Is no longer relevant in today's time. So we're going to be exploring that, and also where the Rastafari movement is going and its evolution. So first of all, MUTABARUKA, let me ask you the straight up question: is Rastafari still relevant today, and why or why not?
You asking me?
Yes, from your perspective, is Rastafari still... Because one of our callers last week, said that Rastafari is no longer relevant, as a movement. So we're asking you, is Rastafari still relevant? And if so, why?
Yeah, well, Rastafari is relevant. But I am seeing that Rastafari need to examine the connection of their belief and their liberty with the Judeo-Christian mindset. I think that is something that is stagnating the growth of Rastafari in terms of its identity.
Yes.
We are moving closer and closer to the establishment identity of religious perspective, and that's not what Rastafari was all about, you know?
So what is Rastafari about? So then what is Rastafari about?
Rastafari is what we call a black power movement with a spiritual nucleus. That's what it's a black power movement. It's a Pan-African movement with a spiritual nucleus.
Yes. So how has the adherence to the Judeo-Christian, give a few examples of how the adherence to the Judeo-Christian movement has stagnated Rastafari?
Come again.
So how has the adherence to the Judeo-Christian concept had a negative impact upon the development of Rasta?
Well, I don't know if that's negative. I wouldn't say that's a negative thing.
Yes.
But I'm saying that it is keeping the adherence from recognizing the African-centered perspective.
Okay.
Most Rastafari, because they're so into the Judeo-Christian mindset, their connection with African retentive spirituality is not embraced. They don't want to embrace things that are African in its essence. They more stick to the Jewish, Hebrew, Israelite thinking, and then almost demonize what is outside of that. And I think that's a very dangerous thing to do, considering that the idea and the concept of Haile Selassie is coming from something that is much more ancient than Judeo-Christianity.
Yes.
To look at a man and say he's divine and he's God. It's not something to be played with in relationship to African-centered perspective.
Yes.
I don't think most Rastas understand the idea of, for instance, Yoruba, Akan, Kemetic, the relationship they have with all of these consciousness. I think because they are so stuck into Jesus Christ, even though they don't want to say it, it clouds their mind from being African-centered.
Yes. So, in respect, can I ask you then to give an example, of a concept that Rastafari doesn't necessarily new to, but chooses to hold on to a Judeo-Christian concept to affirm?
Well, the idea of Jesus, like the idea of Jesus is part of that. Jesus is not the African concept. Part of it is myth. Part of it is controlled by Europeans, and the idea that a man named Jesus Christ has returned is not something that I would give credence to. The Haile Selassie is not something that is returned. Haile Selassie is an idea that Leonard Owen, because Leonard Owen saw that we were worshipping the King of England.
Yes.
He said we should have our own king. And our own king in 1930 is the beginning of Haile Selassie. And around Haile Selassie, we created a liberty and understanding that was far past Jesus Christ coming back to save me. Jesus Christ is a secondary thing to what Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie is much more in terms of concept.
Yes.
It's before Jesus. It's before all of these things. It go right into Kemet. Even though what like the pharaohs. It's like all the Egyptians used to see the pharaohs. The Egyptians see the pharaohs as a representative of God on earth, thus making them divine. That is what Rasta is doing. But Rasta is validating Haile Selassie through the European idea of Jesus Christ. It cannot work. It will not work, then it's not going to work again.
Yes.
Because it's just not working. It's not working.
Yes. All right. Now we're going to come on to this idea of the new faculty of interpretation that you've been espousing. But before we get there, I want to ask you where do you think that this reliance on the Judeo-Christian perspective comes from? How did it come into Rastafari?
Where what?
Where did the reliance on the Judeo-Christian precepts come from, and how did it come into Rastafari?
It come from because most of the first people that moved to Rasta was Christians.
Yes.
We didn't have anything else other than the Bible. So when you talk about spiritual, we didn't have a concept of Buddhism, we didn't have a concept of Hinduism, we didn't have a concept of Akan, Yoruba. Obia, voodoo. We didn't have a cancer problem. So most of the people then who started out recognized that they were Christians, and they used what they started to see to validate what they wanted to be. So the only thing that was there was the Bible. So everything that they say about Haile Selassie was interpreted through the Bible.
Okay.
The Bible became the landmark of their interpretation of what they created for themselves.
Okay.
I am saying that what we created for ourselves is a genetic memory that persists in the African consciousness, no matter if they are in Africa or outside of Africa. We have a genetic memory of our spirituality that cannot be defined through Judeo-Christianity, because the Judeo-Christian mindset, Christianity was started in Africa by Europeans.
Yes.
The whole idea of the New Testament is based upon European ideas that they stole some of it from what we call Semitic traditions and twist it and turn it and manipulate it to pacify the African people so as not to really accept their African traditions.
Yes. So then, what I get from what you're saying then, so you know that North Ras, yeah, will use scriptures, so like passages from Revelation, yeah, and these things to validate the idea of Haile Selassie. You're saying that this is the New Testament is an inadequate book to validate Haile Selassie.
What I'm saying that anybody can use the Bible to validate anything that they want, no matter what. People read the Bible and say it is that talking to them personally.
Right.
When people read Paul, people say it's Paul talking to we.
Yes.
Writing a letter to the Corinthians and writing a letter to the Romans, people make the words of Paul transcend. Mm-hmm. When you hear about Israel in Egypt for 200 or 400 years, people transcend that and say it's we talking about. So there's a lot of things in the Bible that when people read it, they take it personal and put it on themselves. I'm saying that you don't have to do that, because we have a more ancient tradition and a more ancient spirituality that is embedded in Rastafari liberty, not in Rastafari learning it.
Okay.
Rastafari liberty. And the liberty is what has carried Rastafari cultural expression to make it very unique to the Western world. Not that it was unique to the earth, but Rastafari liberty has been unique to the Western world. We have given a kind of anciency to a more, what we call, modern idea of understanding. And that is what we should stick to. That is the only way Rasta can survive. Rasta cannot survive in keeping, associating themselves with Christian ideas and Christian principles. Ethiopian Orthodox is Christian. Haile Selassie is Christian. It is not what Haile Selassie is that defines us. It's who we say Haile Selassie.
Right.
Haile Selassie believes in. That is not what spur Leonard Howell to heal Haile Selassie. It's what we say in Haile Selassie that help us to reach this far. And if we continue to persist to say that Jesus Christ on the cross, Jesus Christ is here, and we're going to go, like people call in Africa the promised land.
Yes.
They can't promise black people Africa. Africa is African people land. Nobody can promise you that. The promised land was promised to Israel by the God of Israel, because it's not for them land.
Yes.
The land that God promised the Israelite was not Israelite land.
Right.
Nobody can promise African people Africa. It is our land, and we have to see it as an African land, not a promised land. And that is the contention that I have.
Right.
For instance, people talk about, I hear Rastas talking about Rastas dying, and them say there's Rasta gone to Zion. What the hell is that? How can now we look on Zion as a place where dead Rastas go?
Yeah.
Dead Christians go. Dead Christians go to heaven. Now we're talking about that. I thought Zion was in Africa. I never know Zion now was a place where when you're dead as a Rasta you go to Zion. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, we are hear you. I want to come back to this Zion argument, yeah. But for now, you speak about a new faculty of interpretation for Rastafari, yeah? Could you explain for our listeners?
Planno mentioned that years ago.
Say again?
Planno, Mortimer Planno.
Yes.
Mortimer Planno. He was the first one to mention that Rasta need a new faculty of interpretation.
Yes. And so what do you think he meant by that?
He meant that the way that Rastafari address their philosophy and their spirituality need to be examined. Given that we are now moving in a new dispensation,
yes,
all Rastafari came to say this and all Rastafari is saying things, we need to examine it. How did we say this and why did we say it? And is it relevant to say what we say now, or are we to now evaluate it, sit down and understand it on a different level?
Right.
That is what it means. A new faculty of interpretation means how we see Rasta, the interpretation that we have now, is it an interpretation that can carry us to the next level, or is it an interpretation that says, oh, we could just go like the Christian?
Yes, sir.
Christianity don't evolve. Christianity is static. It don't evolve. Rastafari must evolve from giving information, because information is what you look at, not something 4,000 years ago that happened 2,000 years ago and 4,000 years ago. You look at things and say, is this relevant for your time? Is this relevant and how it's going to accept the nation or the tribe that you're in?
Yes, sir.
It's going to play out when you adopt it.
So, I did jump the gun a little while ago, Uncle Muta. I know Mortimer Planno as one of the teachers in Rastafari, but I knew you knew him personally. So for our listeners who do not know who Mortimer Planno is, if you could explain for them who Mortimer Planno is.
I don't hear you.
I say for our listeners who may not know who Mortimer Planno is, if you could explain for them who Mortimer Planno is.
Who is Mortimer Planno?
Yes.
Mortimer Planno was one of the brethren them who went on the first mission to Africa in 1960. I don't remember the year, some 19 something. He went with a group of people to examine if Rastas could get land in different parts of Africa to repatriate.
Yes.
So the man that when Haile Selassie came here, Haile Selassie called him into the plane, and he was the one that stand up on the step as a dreadlocks and asked the crowd to give Haile Selassie a space. Mortimer Planno, everybody knew him because he's standing on the plane with Haile Selassie. He was the only dreadlock standing on the plane there with Haile Selassie.
Yes, sir.
He had audience with Haile Selassie in his visit to Ethiopia. He was a very prominent and very influential Rastafari in the Rastafari community in Jamaica.
Yes, sir. For listeners who may not know, he also wrote a number of the Wailers, early Bob Marley tunes, and he was a teacher to Bob Marley and people like MUTABARUKA and many others. Very, very great man. So
chances are, Haile Selassie in the chapel.
Yes.
And he was like a mentor to Bob Marley.
Yes, sir. All right. So you've explained what you mean by what Father Mortimer Planno means by new faculty of interpretation. Now, for the listeners, Father Muta, can we get an example from you, an idea of you as to where Rastafari is going to find or develop this new faculty of interpretation?
All right. First, we have to start to embrace the Africanness, the spiritualism that define Africans in Africa, and don't demonize them like all the Europeans demonize them.
Right.
First, we have to look on Africa. We have to look on the relationship, reparations. There are retentive elements in Jamaica that African retentive elements in Jamaica that Rasta now deny, even though it is coming straight at us. For instance, the first Rastas in Jamaica, they were part of what they call revivalist movement in Jamaica. You see, they were part of what we now call Pocomania, the Obia, from St. Thomas and all these things. They were part of that. You see. Now, what we find is that the demonization of African spirituality is done through a Christian mindset. And when if you listen to the music of most Rasta brethren, them fight against Obia, them fight against voodoo, them fight against a lot of things that is African authentic.
Yes.
Because they believe in this Christian thing, and the Christian thing don't give way to African retentive elements in Jamaica, now in the world. So that's what I'm talking about. What we have to do now is start to develop an appreciation for spiritualities that define Africa. For example, we talk about Kemet, Egypt. People demonize Egypt. People say Egypt, Pharaoh army and the Israelites. In other words, they are more pro-Israel and against Egypt. When really and truly Egypt have more connection with our agency than Israel. Israel is not. Israel is a peripheral thinking. We don't even know if there was an Israel in Egypt. Israel is a peripheral thinking. So we have to go back to the root and stop dealing with the branch. We have a root of Kemetic thinking. You have some Rastas because of Christianity, them fight against the Ankh. And people live thing like the Ankh. Them fight against it. But they would have wear a star, what them call the Star of David. You see? And these are the things we're talking about now, the appreciation for African perspectives that is not in line with Christianity. It's one of the first steps that we should really start to investigate.
Yes, sir. All right, so to get in more into the thing now and get more concrete with the thing, yeah, you've explained in terms of validating Haile Selassie through the Bible, and I have heard you speak about the fact that there are concepts in ancient Africa, Ethiopia and Kemet, whereby emperors and empresses are deified, yeah? Now, what is the practical difference? Yeah, what practical difference would it make in Rastafari if Rastafari was to view Haile Selassie from a more Kemetic, ancient Ethiopian perspective versus the Judeo-Christian perspective? What practical difference would it make?
Well, would I move away from the mythology, the lie and the mythology that there's a man named Jesus Christ that's going to come and save us?
Yes.
The first madness would have moved. If we stop associate the idea of Haile Selassie with Jesus, would have stopped saying that Haile Selassie is the man in Revelation who's going to come now and destroy the wicked and take us to Zion and all these things. This is a Christian idea. It has nothing to do with the reality of earth. It has nothing to do with Haile Selassie himself.
Yes.
You see, that is one of the things that we talk about. When we talk about the Kemetic Ethiopian understanding, the Kemetic Ethiopian understanding is looking on man, looking at nature, and say, this is what we talk about when we say God. God is not something supernatural. God is a reality. God is ever existing around us and in us. In other words, we sometimes we are in God most of the time, rather than God in us. So we have to really look on how did the Ethiopians all right. You see, the Solomonic, most Ethiopians have no perspective of Ethiopian history outside of Solomon and Sheba, which is a travesty, because Ethiopia is the oldest and most ancient country with a vast amount of culture. Yet, see, if you ask most Ethiopians, they don't know nothing about Ethiopia outside of Solomon and Sheba. Yet, see, I would like to mention that his dynasty go beyond Solomon, even to Ori.
Yes.
Right? Who is Ori? No, Rasta don't investigate. So if I start to talk about his dynasty going back to Ori, that means that I start talking about his dynasty that predates Solomon and Sheba.
Yes.
Solomon and Sheba is just something that the Ethiopians use to validate their Jewish connection, their Israelite connection.
Yes.
Ethiopia is much older than Israel. Ethiopia don't need to validate their history with Jews. You see? And that is really a problem when I go to Ethiopia. When I go to Ethiopia, even the older men in my age group, they don't know the history of Ethiopia beyond Solomon and Sheba.
Yes, sir.
So what I need to understand that now, that Haile Selassie is not validated because the Queen of Yemen or the Queen of Axum went to visit Solomon. That is what the Jewish tradition is using to define an Ethiopian experience. But the Ethiopian experience with Solomon and Sheba is not validating Ethiopian history. Because you can't use the son to validate the father. The father validated the son. And Ethiopia is the father, is the mother of civilization. And we talk about Ethiopia, we talk about that specific area. We're not talking about the whole of Africa now.
Yes.
We're talking about Ethiopia, Nubia, and all of these countries that was defined as Kush.
That's Kush, yes.
Saying that Ethiopia is a more ancient validation for our existence than the connection of Solomon with Sheba.
All right, kings and queens, we are live with Rastafari Elder MUTABARUKA, live from Jamaica. You can text in right now on 07498 538 784 to interact with the man himself. Once again, 07498 538 784. We're going to open the calling lines shortly, kings and queens. But I'm going to come back to that in a little while. Uncle Muta, so with regards to this, one of the concepts that I've heard you speak about, yeah, again, getting into more specifics now, is a popular concept within Rastafari, which pertains to Haile Selassie being the returned Messiah, yeah? And I've heard you say that we need to evolve from this particular viewpoint. Please explain and expand on that for our listeners.
I don't hear you properly, but I'm going to answer about what I hear, right?
Okay.
All right. You see, Christianity makes us believe that Christ is a surname of a person.
Yes.
Christ is not a surname of a person.
Yes.
So what we have is that Christianity developed a story around a real man that existed and make him become mythological and add different lies on him so as to make him more powerful than what he was and more supernatural than what he was when he was alive. It's like Nanny of the Maroon. When we hear about Nanny, most of the time people talk about Nanny is that she catch bullet in her bottom and this. He's in a story to make the thing look more greater than what it is. So when we hear about Jesus now, Jesus don't stand alone unless you say Jesus Christ. And yes, Christ is not the name of an individual person. Now, when we talk about Messiah, there was a lot of Messiahs in the time. David is Christ. You know, the anointed, he was anointed, he was Christ. But you don't look upon David as a Christ because Christianity don't teach you that. So when the Romans usurped what we call African spirituality now, when the Greeks usurp African spirituality, they write into the story their idea and their understanding of what it is that they want you to believe. So they conjure up so many Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. If you don't know who these people is, you are not getting to understand that some Romans write it. And which when I look at it, it looks like Roman, because no fisherman never know Greek at the time, and Greek was the first language that the New Testament was written. So you know, fishermen, it's like you're telling the fisherman them down a Greenwich farm to write French.
Yeah.
You don't do that. So this understanding of Messiah is only given to the Christian Jesus. And if you now decide that this man is a return Messiah, but you are still hanging on this European, Eurocentric Messiah, and now putting him into this modern time, and say, him come back again in the farm of Christ, of Haile Selassie, and this man now, what you put in a weight on this Haile Selassie now, to transform all the things then that you read in Revelation, in this, that, all of these things now, you are going to know, say, this man is supposed to fulfill it. A lot of people who say King of Kings don't know that you have many kings in Ethiopia, and the emperor is the King of the Kings.
Yes, sir.
People don't know that is where the King of Kings name come from. So when they don't know that, and they say King of Kings in the Bible, they say, but King of Kings is Christ. We can't say Haile Selassie is Christ, but it is not the return Messiah, because Messiah, Christ don't mean individual person. So maybe you're not wrong when you say Haile Selassie is Christ, but when you say he's the return Jesus Christ. Now that is the problem.
Okay. All right. Now question. Yeah. So in the sense of when we deal with the founding fathers and mothers, yeah, from the Leonard Howell times, yeah, are there concepts that Leonard Howell and the early Rastafari movement had intact that maybe have not developed as popular in Rastafari?
Yeah, man. Like, if you read the Promise Key,
yeah.
And I must tell you that the Rascals in that time create their own Bible.
Yes, sir.
Like I tell you, they create their own Bible. But if you read the Promise Key, right, Leonard Howell talk about white supremacy. Leonard Howell talk about the evils of the white man, and how the white man, you know, is just like when the Muslims, the black Muslims, did I say them is the devil. You know, so these things is not something where nowadays Rasta would be credence to, because they're into the one love mode. They're not into the black African perspective, the Pan-African perspective. Most Rastas are not into Pan-Africanism. Most Rastas is into Christian concepts.
Right.
Let us unite the world in one love and all these things when black people still suffer. It matters to say until the philosophy that all one race superior and the other inferior. What is the philosophy that all one race inferior and superior? It's racism.
Yes,
it's white supremacy. So until we can destroy that, there will be no peace. Until that day, we Africans will fight if it is necessary, because we are confident in the victory of good over evil. So even Haile Selassie, who said Africa Armageddon pass, what is the Armageddon that Haile Selassie is talking about? It's slavery, chattel slavery, when it premiated 400 years ago. If Haile Selassie can say, until the philosophy that all one race superior and the other inferior, how can we now come and negate and destroy what we call black power? When Leonard Howell and the founding fathers, the only reason why they come up with this concept is because the necessity for African people to free themselves from colonialism and slavery was seen through the crowning of Haile Selassie I as the Emperor of Ethiopia, fulfilling the argument of Marcus Garvey, where's the black man king? Where's the black man kingdom?
Yes, sir.
We must have God through our own eyes.
Yes,
so how can we now look to Haile Selassie through our own eyes and then convert into Christianity? It's like we're converting what we see. Haile Selassie is a Christian, and we know who's looking into Haile Selassie. It's converting our ideas into Christianity to facilitate. It's like we're cutting off a foot to fit the shoes.
Yes, I give thanks, Muta, for that contribution right there. We're going to be preparing right now to take some calls so that I know the people that want to interact with you from London, in fact, from the whole of England are listening right now. Shout out to the Birmingham crew, locked in, locked on. We know we can see you. All Manchester listen and all these things. But before we do, we go into the calls, we're just going to interact with our resident guest, Muta. So stay on the line and we're going to get some callers to interact with you shortly. Brother Leader? Yes, our Rastafari Elder from across the water has been breaking it down sufficiently. And I know that as the spiritual leader of the Al-Kebla Revivalist movement, the African-centered perspective is particularly pertinent to where we approach Rastafari from. And if you just want to expand on anything that's been said so far, I'll give you free reign to do so. Tenai
Mwari. Well, as all our listeners should know, regular listeners that is, and anyone who knows anything about the history and the background, the philosophy and ideology of the Al-Kebla Revivalist movement will know that the Al-Kebla Revivalist movement has always been profoundly inspired and affected by Rastafari, by the Rastafari movement, by the principles of Rastafari as we see and we understand it. And I'm able to, as a spiritual leader of the Al-Kebla Revivalist movement, I'm able to say that our philosophy and our understanding of Rastafari, our embracing of the spiritual, cultural essence of Rastafari resonates very much with what our beloved elder brother MUTABARUKA has been breaking down on Galaxy Radio this evening. It is the spiritual, cultural, the African-centered, spiritual, cultural, retentive essence of Rastafari that has appealed to the Al-Kebla Revivalist movement. In fact, as I have said on our program, as I said last week and I've said before, one of the key founder members of the Al-Kebla Revivalist movement was a committed, conscious Rasta brethren by the name of Brother Kamawaize Mebrato Noe, but who was a Rasta man coming from the perspective that has been presented to us this evening by Brother MUTABARUKA. He was certainly a Pan-Africanist, a nationalist Pan-Africanist, and certainly inspired by the principles of the Black Power movement and the vision of African-centered nation building, African-centered spiritual, cultural reclamation. So, I can embrace fully what Brother MUTABARUKA is saying, and I think that if Rastafari is to remain true to its original purpose and its original calling, Rastafari must remain consistent in terms of what inspired Rastafari in the first place. The philosophy of the most eminent and the vision of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey, and the desire and the determination to reclaim our African spirituality, our African tradition, and for that to be the core and the basis upon which we empower ourselves as African people to launch our own liberation as a people. And we can only do that if we are defining ourselves.
Yes, sir.
And not get sucked into the Judeo-Christian ideas, which are very problematic, has been explained by Brother MUTABARUKA this evening.
10-9 Warrior, give thanks, Brother Leader. We're going to interact with you a little bit more, but we're going to open the lines. Right now, the lines are open if you want to interact with Brother Leader Bandaka or Brother MUTABARUKA live from Jamaica. I should say, or Brother MUTABARUKA live from Jamaica. 07 438 154 351. Alternatively, 07 548 508 684. We have Brother MUTABARUKA live on the line from Jamaica. The lines are now open, kings and queens, so use either of those numbers to get in contact with us, and we have some texts to read out.
Yes, we have a question. It says, is Ethiopian Christianity still relevant rather than Judeo-Christianity?
Okay, so if I was to Muta, did you hear that question?
Is Ethiopian Christianity relevant?
Yeah, I think
more relevant.
Yeah,
than...
so the text that is asking, it seems that the text is asking whether the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, is more relevant to us than the popular church that we know we come from, the Roman Catholic.
Yeah, but I don't see the difference in the churches, We're talking about Rastafari as a movement of people who has been domiciled on these farmer slave plantation island. I don't know if Ethiopian Christianity different from Christianity in itself, because we must remember that there's a guy named Constantine who gather all the churches, both east and west, and then tell the bishop they must decide if there's a oneness in the personality of Jesus or a triplicity. And what happened that one set of churches, the Orthodox churches in the east, separate from the church in the west. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the Armenian Orthodox, the Greek Orthodox, the Ethiopian Orthodox,
the Russian,
same ideas and views. Rastafari must not be mixed up with churches, because it was formed because of church. It was formed because there was a need to liberate black people's mind from white supremacy and white domination and return forward to our Africanness. We must be sympathetic to churches because it comes from Ethiopia. Ethiopia don't have a name for Jesus Christ. They use the Greek word, Jesus Christos.
Yes, sir.
No matter earth named Jesus, now Jesus. The Hebrew man named Yahshua. Yahshua, the translation of Yahshua is not Jesus and is not Christos. You understand? So when we talk about churches, maybe somebody can find relevance in it, but my view of Rastafari is not in churches. My view is the liberation of African people through a Pan-Africanist consciousness and a Pan-African spirituality that is defined in Rastafari through how we view Haile Selassie, and we create different kind of way of life from churches.
Yes, sir.
Food, hearing of lots. I mean, the liberty of Rastafari is different from church.
Yes, give thanks, Muta. We got a caller on the line, brothers and sisters. You can check out more on this show. The full show spec can be found on alkebulan.org. And we have a caller.
We have Mukanan Sankofa.
Makanen Sankofa, yes. Brother Makanen?
Yes, greetings to you all. Can you hear me?
Greetings, yes, we can hear you very well.
Yes, greetings to you all on Africa Speak.
1 second, brother Makanen. Brother Muta, can you hear Brother Makanen? Brother Muta?
Yeah.
Was you able to hear Brother Makanen?
I hearing you. I don't know what he's speaking.
Okay, all right. If we have a caller on the line that wants to ask you a question, if you don't hear the caller, we'll relay the question to you. Yeah. So stay on the line.
Yeah, okay.
Brother Makanen.
Yeah, I should say greetings to Muta as well. My actual question is actually more going to be addressed to you, ShakaRa.
All right, okay.
I'll go on anyway. I was really glad actually when I found out MUTABARUKA would be on the show, as that's someone who's definitely inspired me as a Rastaman and Pan-Africanist.
Yes.
As spoken about on ShakaRa's lecture, your lecture on Rastafari 2 weeks ago,
yeah,
which has also been mentioned on today's show by MUTABARUKA, is the new faculty of interpretation.
Yes, sir.
Just to explain again for those who may have missed the early part of the show, this new faculty of interpretation we're talking about is about Rastas no longer validating Haile Selassie as God or Jesus through the Bible. I'm just going to point out to listeners who may not know that there's always been some Rastas who haven't used the Bible as reference to Haile Selassie, but the vast majority of Rastas do use the Bible, hence the use of the words new faculty of interpretation, because it's a new concept to the vast majority of Rastas.
Oh, okay.
I'm now going to ask ShakaRa my question.
Yes.
As we know today, Rasta isn't quite the dominant force it once was back in the 60s and the 70s when it was really in its peak and its heyday. So do you think more people being aware of this new faculty of interpretation can bring about a resurgence in the Rastafari movement in England, particularly among the youths who are the future?
Okay. All right. To be honest with you, I will answer your question. I'm also going to put it to MUTABARUKA, if you don't mind as well, Brother Makanin. Because I think coming from Jamaica, he'd have a perspective on that as well. But yeah, give thanks for that. Aye. Yeah, we'll give thanks for you. And give thanks for recording the presentation as well, because I wouldn't have no record of it otherwise. So give thanks for that. All right.
If anyone wants it, if they text you your email address, then we can send it on.
Yeah. All right. So what Brother Makanen is saying that if anybody wants the presentation, the mystic revelation of Rastafari that was delivered by myself a couple of weeks ago, just text in the show and we'll email it to you. That's what he's saying. Brother Muta, did you hear Brother Makanen?
No, I didn't hear him.
Okay, all right. He was really asking me a question in relation to presentations that I have delivered on the mystic revelation of Rastafari, really breaking down a lot of the information that you have been breaking down and trying to be conscious in the evolution of this new faculty of interpretation. He's asked me a question which I'm going to answer, but I want to put it to you first. Sorry. Yes, but and he was explaining that he was inspired by yourself as well, because he was explaining that from listening to you, he has learned that there are plenty Rastafari brethren and sisters and elders that don't use the Bible or don't come from a biblical perspective in the hills and the mountains of Jamaica in particular. Yeah, but the question that he was asking was in the sense of, do myself and yourself think that a new faculty of interpretation within Rastafari would bring about a resurgence of Rastafari among youth and young people?
Well, most of the youth them in Jamaica, I don't know about England, most of the youth them in Jamaica have searched Rastafari through ital liberty.
Yes.
In other words, through nature, through life. Most of the youth them right now, them want to plant food and live ital tradition and do them laps and try to Selassie and just live on, Africa tradition, It's a different from when you go read it now and you just sit in and read it and be like, see, Christianity, we have no culture, What the most potent aspect of Rastafari is the culture.
Yes.
The liberty of Rastafari. That is what grabbed the world. You know, it's not because we were saying Haile Selassie is Christ. What grabbed the word is because we exemplify ourselves through a kind of anti-establishment kind of living.
Yes.
And we show a self-reliant kind of way. Now, when you have Rastas now who set up church and read Bible and, you know, tabernacle or whatever them call it, you know, synagogue, and then, you know, praying 7 times a day, and, you know, what is the difference? It's better to go after Jesus Christ and to get more Haile Selassie.
Yes, sir.
What is the same thing with Christian do? What is the purpose of saying Haile Selassie? You know, Haile Selassie return Messiah. They have nothing to do with the reality of life right now.
Yes, sir.
You know, so the youth them, I think the youth them is more into what would I call it? Pantheism. I don't know if you know the word.
Yes, sir. We know the word.
All pure is God, is where everything is a manifestation of God, which is really African perspective.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's like animism, where even the stone itself of life, you know, and I think most ones now is looking to nature and seeing themselves, you know, isolating themselves. You know, that is the idea, you know, I and I, you know, there's no second person. It's just I and I, and the relationship that you have with other ones, and the relationship that you have with the birds and the flowers and the bees and the trees, and when you put in your body. You know, I think that is really the concept of Rastafari in this time. We could have carried through, you know, instead of, you know, the preaching and the teaching.
Yes, sir. All right, give thanks, Muta. We have another caller on the line, and Ras Makan, I'm gonna get to your question. I'm gonna answer your question as well from my own perspective. But the numbers to call Kings and Queens are 07438 154 351. Alternatively, 07548 508 684. We have a caller on the line.
Yes, we do. We have Roots Elements.
Raw elements, drive my defense.
Raw elements, got you raw elements.
Big up ShakaRa, brother Bandaka.
Tenai Mwari, blessed, my brother.
Yes, I respect the Galaxy family. Brother Mota, respect the honor to you, my brother. The line is a bit, I want to ask you, Mota touched a point earlier on where he was talking about African spirituality, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Where he was talking about voodoo and everything, and Dr. Abu keep on talking about that, and I think I just want Mota to elaborate on it, make people understand it more, because that's the only way we're going to get out of it to African people. You know what I mean? Throw away the Bible and the image.
So you want Muta to elaborate on voodoo?
We want him to elaborate about voodoo and African spirituality and the good it is benefit, because that's our full parents usually do.
Okay.
I won't come off and listen off the ear. Say, thanks for the time.
Give thanks. All right.
Tenai
Mwari.
Tenai Mwari.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard what he asked about African spirituality and the definition and thing. All right.
Yes.
The first Rastas came out of the revivalist movement in Jamaica. They never come out of the Anglican Church.
Yes.
They never come out of the Roman Catholic Church. It is a revivalist movement. The revivalist movement is the most African retentive group of people who claim spiritual or claim religion. So when you go to places like St. Thomas, which is one of the places where now it's still happening, the revivalist movement is like this. Now, even though the revivalist movement is Christian, but it still maintains a certain African spiritual retentive element inside of it. Second, if you go to Haiti, the Asian people who they claim is voodoo. The voodoo is what helped the Asian people to be the first black republic in the world.
Yes, sir.
Bookman, who came from Jamaica and went to Haiti, he was known as a medicine man, as a man who was being practicing what they call Obia. And he was able to help to liberate Haiti from the French. Now you have many people like that, and if you look at the history of what we call slave uprising, most of the leaders there were seen as what we call were white people that call witch doctor. I talk about Taki, Nani, you know, I mean, Bookman, you know, and those who was not was using the church for gathering the people, because there was no other place that the people then could gather freely other than in the church. And most rebellions, slave rebellions, whether it's in the Caribbean or in America, was started because the leaders of the church, who were seen as deacons, used the church to gather up the people and move them. Most of the gospel songs that was created by black people in America, it's not songs that is praising Jesus, even though it have that, but it was songs, coded songs, to help the underground, to help the movement of slaves from one place to the next. No, what am I saying here? I'm saying that when we give up these ideas, what we do is giving up our ancestral legacy.
Right.
And our ancestral legacy is not defined through Jesus. It's not defined through Jesus. Jesus is a construct of Greco-Roman ideas that was watered down by adopting Kemetic ideas. Why are we going to the Greco-Roman ideas of ourselves when we can go straight to Kemet? No, because we have information. No, it's not like first time when they do have the information. It's not like when Rasta just start. They had no information. We have information now, we have internet, we have computer now that can find out anything we want to find out.
Yes, sir.
We need to investigate what were the Africans doing before slavery. What were we doing in Africa before the Africans then take and put over here and give a Bible, or them bring the Bible and the gun in a one hand and take over land? When they move, we have the Bible and them have the land.
Yes,
that is a famous saying. The Rastas in Jamaica and everywhere else need to examine African spirituality. What were the Africans believing in? We had a concept of life totally different from Europeans. We had a concept of the river. We have a concept of the trees, the birds, the flower. Totally different. These Europeans have given us a concrete jungle where we feel say it's either we're going to go to heaven and meet a street paved with gold, and not understanding that the earth is ours, and we need to nourish and cherish the earth. And in nourishing and cherishing the earth will take care of us, and we shall take care of ourselves. And if we can see the goodness in others, we have to see the goodness in ourselves first before we can see the goodness.
The credit on your card is low.
Teaching me that Christianity is giving the power over to one individual who is an illusion. Haile Selassie is not an illusion. Haile Selassie is something that was created in the interest of African people to find themselves. When you find Haile Selassie, it's not looking for Haile Selassie, and that is it. It is carrying it yourself. You are saying that man, know thyself. Man is God. When you look for man, you see God. When you look for your neighbor, you see God. When you look on the bird, the flowers and trees, you see God. What Christianity has done is move us away.
The credit on your card is low.
Totality, the sum total of existence, and carry us into a realm of illusion.
Yes, Uncle Muta. Give us 1 sec. We're just going to sort out some technicals in the studio. We're going to get back to you very shortly, all right? Give thanks for that. 07438 154 351. The calling number 07548 508 684. Those are the numbers to call in, kings and queens. Those are the numbers to call in. We have our international guest, Father Rastafari Elder, MUTABARUKA, breaking down some extremely important information for you. The text in number is 07498 538 sorry, I'm getting into the old school mode. Once again, 07498 538 784. That's the text in number if you would like to ask MUTABARUKA, Brother Leader Bandaka, a question, or indeed receive an email with the presentation, the mystic revelation of Rastafari, so dutifully provided by our brother Makanem Sankofa. and it will be available on the Al-Kebulan website as well. This show and everything else is going to be available on alkebulan.org, kings and queens. alkebulan.org. Salute, text reads, salute to the Al-Kebulan warriors. Belated thanks to the conversation last, or should I say, it says first week. Also to spiritual leader, most honorable Brother Bandaka, in giving the fracture spot on the reasoning in clarity on the subject that's relevant. Then and now and countless generations, Rastafari, blessed vibrations, Rasmarkable, giving thanks to Rasmarkable, regular
nice
Al-Kebulan
Rasmarkable, always good to hear
right
from
there. So, we have I'm gonna tell I forget about Prince, and I don't forget about our ancestors. Is all right. We read that one already. Yeah, I think Muta is right. What I have never understood is that Marcus Garvey said, "Look to the east." He said this in Harlem, and Africa is east of Harlem. So for me, Marcus Garvey could have been talking about any African king being crowned from any part of Africa. Why did they focus on Selassie? Okay, we're going to get that particular question answered by Father Muta when he comes back on the line. But brother leader, why Rastafari focus on Haile Selassie?
There's an obvious answer to that.
Yes.
The only king that was crowned that we knew about on the African continent was the Emperor Haile Selassie. Yes, sir. Yeah, not that we didn't have royalty in other parts of the African continent,
but none of them were kings of empires. So like the royalty in Ethiopia at the time would have been unique, innit?
Well, I think
I
think the issue is that none of them were internationally known.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And certainly none of them were king, sovereign
of a nation, sovereign nation
of any of the nations. Of Africa as Africa was constructed at the time.
Yes.
So there's an obvious answer to that question.
Yes, sir.
And of course that there are certain references in the legacy of the most eminent prophet and king that directed our focus towards the African continent. Those days Papa Garvey referred to the entire African continent as Ethiopia. But of course, there was an interpretation and a focus on Ethiopia as we know it today, which was then Abyssinia.
Yes.
Ethiopia as we know it today, because there was a king that was crowned, and this king was crowned a year after Papa Garvey had written a play that was performed at the Ward Theatre, the biggest theatre in Jamaica at the time.
Called The Coronation of the African King.
Called The Coronation of, and this coronation, a year before it actually happened, was a crowning of a king and a queen. A year later, that happened in Ethiopia, and that, of course, became a great source of inspiration for Garveyites at the time, and some of whom were that inspired that they proclaimed Haile Selassie as a divine personification of the Creator.
Tendai. All right. We have a texting, brothers and sisters, 07498 538 784. We have MUTABARUKA on the line. We have a texter, Father Muta, who was basically asking the question. Marcus Garvey said, look to Africa. And he could have been talking about any African king. So why did Rastafari hold fast to Haile Selassie? Why Haile Selassie as opposed to any other African king? What? 1 second, Uncle Buta. 1 second. Hold on, we have a technical in the studio. Yeah. Right. Come again. Can you hear me?
You're asking why Haile Selassie is not the next African king?
Yes, sir.
Because Leonard Howell rise up in a Marcus Garvey movement, and in 1930, when Haile Selassie was crowned, that is the emperor that him identified.
Right.
It could be other kings, but why not Haile Selassie? That is who Leonard Howell identified.
Okay. All right.
This is the king that Leonard Howell identified. This is the king that Leonard Howell said, look here, them have for them king, we have our own king and all. So make rally around this king.
Yes, sir.
So this king we work with.
Uncle Muta. Now, to go into a next subject, we have a question regarding the legalization and decriminalization of marijuana, and
you know, nobody never come up before Leonard Owl. Nobody never come up with an idea like Leonard Owl would say. Well, you know, say make we hear Menelik and make we hear Theodore.
yes,
No, the event that took place in 1930 is what Leonard Owl identified as a rallying point for African people who was domiciled in these farmers' slave plantation islands.
yes, sir.
So Haile Selassie is the one. So we can't say why not another king? Why not another king?
Right.
Because Leonard always look on Isaac and say it's him. I work with it.
All right. Now, Uncle Muta, in the promise key here, Leonard Howell hails up Empress Menen also, yeah? Because as we know, Empress Menen was crowned the same time as Haile Selassie, yeah? Now, when I was delivering the presentation that was mentioned earlier, I spoke about this fact, yeah? And a sister was, before the presentation, was asking me if I was going to address women in Rastafari and certain particular issues to do with womanhood in Rastafari. This was a Rastafari sister who was asking me to address these things. I'm going to put the question to you in terms of women in Rastafari, Empress Menen, the female divinity, and the importance that plays in the development of Rastafari. What's the importance of the feminine divine?
All right. I want to tell you something about this Empress Menen thing, you know. Years ago, a brother named Carl Philpott. I was interviewing a brother named Carl Philpott. I was talking, and I said, him say, I reflect, and I say, you know, protocol would have mean that you would have really hear him wife go. You know, because if the two of them came, you would have said, ear to ear, and then in wife, you know.
Yes.
So I think that Rasta should have started to recognize the importance of the wife of Haile Selassie.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I tell you this, man, you could talk about Alpha and Omega, which is very obscure.
Yeah.
You know, King Alpha and Queen Omega, that is very obscure.
Yes.
But to actually say Empress Menen,
Yes.
when we started to say it, I wanted to Rasta, he started looking at me, and I said, I want to turn Empress Menen and I got too.
Selassie.
And that was not the purpose, right? That was not the purpose of addressing a reality in earth. That if you have to have a balance between the male and the female.
Yes.
So that was my reason to heal the Empress.
Right.
You know, from that time on now, we should, you know, once pick it up and really recognize as a very important thing. Now, it come back round to the same argument we have about this patriarchal Judeo-Christian mindset. The patriarchal Judeo-Christian mindset does not allow for the reverence of feminine energy or female energy in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no utterance except for the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church that say Hail Mary, Mother of God.
Yes.
No, for the Roman Catholic Church it say Hail Mary, Mother of God. Them giving credence to a feminine energy that would appear to me to be much more powerful than the God with them praise, which is the mother of this God. So the recognition of the feminine is very important, and that is one of the things that I tell you, say, if we don't recognize that and how Judeo-Christianity does not allow for that female energy inside of its doctrine, we're going to lose it. When a man tells you, say, Naya Bingi is a queen. It's a queen, it's a Ugandan queen, you know, Naya Bingi is not a male queen. Yet, see, you go a Bingi and your man says the woman can't play drum, it's foolishness.
Yeah.
You know, it's foolishness. When a man tell you, say, if we read Paul and say, it's a shame for a man to have language. What the fool won't get that? We start to tell you that nature teacher that I'm for a man to have long years, not like, you know,
All right.
man must cover our head. These
But-
things are patriarchal Christian mindset that has nothing to do with Rasta and how Rasta should view them spirituality.
So, Muta, given this new faculty of interpretation now, yeah, coming from an African-centered perspective, how would a new faculty of interpretation from an African-centered perspective change the role or the view of women in Rastafari?
By educating ourselves in the matriarchal societies
Right.
of Africa, where, for instance, in Ghana, amongst the Asante, most of the time it's the female selected chief.
Yes, sir.
You know, you have empress in Africa. You know, you have warrior queens in Africa. You know, many warriors in Nubia. You have Asante. You have many warrior queens in Africa. You have the mothers of the kings, which left out of the story. Yeshima Bet. Most of them even know I class the mother with name Yeshima Bet Ali. You know, these are the things that we need, because most of the time the women then get right out of history.
Yes.
You see, and the history in the Bible. If you view the New Testament, the only two women in that is of importance is Mary, the mother, and the other Mary, who then claims was a prostitute, which ironically,
Yes, sir.
she's the first person when them claims them raised on the bed. She was the first person seen when them raised on the bed. This woman was everybody despised. So we have to really look into all of these things. And it's education. It needs a certain different kind of education
Yes, sir.
to really bring to the attention the marking out of the feminine energy outside of the patriarchal Western world. When we have like Osiris and Isis
Yes.
in Egyptian mythology, the Egyptian mythology is about Isis.
Yeah.
Isis is a female energy. We end up in a Greek mythology, end up in a Roman mythology.
Yes.
You know, this is a powerful kind of energy that it transcends three different kind of cultures. It was in the Egyptian culture, and it go over into there was a time when the Isis energy was so powerful in Rome that part of bringing in Christianity was to help wipe out the Isis energy in Rome. Because the women, they were so powerful in this Isis energy that they have to find something to pacify the female, what they call almost like a revolution in spirituality in a Rome. You know, so we need to educate ourselves.
All right. Give thanks, Muta. We're going to go into our next subject now, yeah? In relation to, coming back to the promise key again, Leonard Howell talks about Africans creating their own money mint, yeah? Which effectively decentralize the focus and taxation being paid to King George and these kinds of things, to the colonial rulers, yeah? And so Pinnacle had its own farming and its own industry, its own economic infrastructure. One of the main things that was a part of that was, as you know, marijuana, ganja. And Jamaica has moved to decriminalization, moved towards it recently, as America has decriminalized it as well. But there are some people that are concerned that Rastafari is going to be written out of the proceeds, so to speak, the profits after Rastafari has been persecuted for so long, and as many people are concerned that this is going to lead into the commercialization of Rastafari culture. I'm going to read you a quote from Bunny Wailer with regards to the Marley estate involving itself in some business with Seattle, the privateer firm that's based in Seattle. And he says, the Marley natural deal must be publicly opposed. Only a Jamaican company incorporating local stakeholders, the Rastafari community, local ganja farmers, medical scientists and inventors should be allowed to market brand Jamaica ganja first hand. That's the words of Bunny Wailer. What's your perspective on ITAL Liberty, specifically as it relates to ganja and the commercialization of Rastafari?
think which Rasta need to set themselves and position themselves to really benefit from it, considering that if we go through the whole heap of persecution for these things,
Yes.
now some big guys take it up, but it is not too late to, I mean, I think we have more sense now than them days there. Them days there, you know, you lock up Rasta for Ganja, you beat Rasta for Ganja, if you know have Rasta, lock for Ganja. I don't think that can happen also now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no Rasta now going to make, you know, I mean, them decriminalize it anyway. But in terms of positioning ourselves, I think we need to position ourselves. I am seeing ones doing that.
Right.
So I'm not having no fear over, you know, taking over. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big alabaloo about it in Jamaica, about, you know, them going to take it from Rasta and everything there. But I think you have enough sense of a man righteous and where a position himself to be with it. You know, you just mentioned Bonnie a while ago. I think him have enough sense to position himself.
Yes.
To deal with it. And you have many other stuff about it, you know.
So, would you see that this move with the Marley estate and this privateer firm in Seattle, would you see that as a part of that positioning or something opposed to it?
Marley, I know, Marley, what?
So you know the Bob Marley estate, yeah, has gone into business with a private equity firm based in Seattle called the Privateer Firm to market a thing called Marley Natural Weed. Yeah.
Yeah, you can sign a deal with the foreign company.
Yes. But I'm saying that, would you see that as a part of this positioning that you're talking about? Is it a hindrance or a help to what? Yeah,
well, them a position, the youth, them a position themselves in the market with them father name, you know what I mean? Who wouldn't do that? You know, if a company come and say, well, I give $1 billion for use your father name to do this, and you have a benefit of it, I mean, why not? You know, there's your company here in Jamaica to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Marley is a big name. A man come and say, I have $1 million or $1 billion to give. And the whole family benefit of it. I don't see why not.
All right. Well, that's MUTABARUKA's You Kings and Queens. You may share your own 07438 154 351. We also have the number 07584 508 684. We have a couple texts to read.
We do. He says a question. Here, we just read it. It says a question for Brother Muta. What would you say to those people who compare the idea of Rastafari to those of ISIS? Also, it says, should we accept some forms of slavery as okay if it is they? Why Rastafari are working for reparations for Africans? Is it a lost cause? And how did Selassie die? Where does he rest? And why is his grandson not on the throne?
All right, let's start with the last one.
Last part?
Yeah. Oh, it was...
What?
How did Selassie die? Where does he rest? And why is his grandson not on the throne?
All right, then question there from straight here. But we can answer the first part first. I don't understand why I hear you clear than the bridging over there, so do. But I'm hearing you loud and clear. Even living should come where you is.
Oh, sorry, Father Muta. Apologies.
All right. One, I don't know how people can associate that group with Rasta. I don't know how that come about. I've never heard that comparison. You know, the first I hear that comparison, I don't hear nobody a tie on a bump on themselves that Jamaica blow away.
Yes, sir.
What kind of stupid foolishness start that? You know, Rasta tie on themselves with pan up bomb and blow away. As a matter of fact, Rasta, I don't see no Rasta fire gun and kill no politician or nothing. So,
yes,
them arguments, they're just some little mad arguments. You know, what I feel doing in Syria and them places. This is I feel I do. It's some guys who is very fundamentalist and very terrible in them ways. That is where Europe was in the medieval time. The same thing I feel I do. The other people I can compare it with is what the Europeans used to do when you say he's not Christian in the medieval time. I don't know what's that comparison with I feel. The argument, I don't know about Haile Selassie death and everything that people say it. I don't know. To me, it don't make no difference. You know, I don't know where and bury, where never bury, where is in city. it don't make no difference to me. You know, the seed has been sown.
Yes, sir.
You know, and that is not a contention that I have in my consciousness.
So you know one of them. You know one for say Haile Selassie I live my life in the physical today.
Virgin, when you say Haile Selassie, that is the idea of Rastafari.
Yes, sir.
The idea of I and I.
Yes, sir.
I and I is what is it all about. So I don't know if, I mean, one time a man said Rasta must stop them damn foolishness because Haile Selassie dead.
Yeah.
1975. I tell him, say, but Jesus dead 2,000 years ago and we still look for him to come back.
Yes, sir.
So the argument about death is not significant or important to I personally.
Right.
It don't make no difference to the movement, because that is what they would expect to happen. When I start to come here, they would expect them to say man of God and they never say.
Yeah.
When them say dead, they would expect for Rasta say, well, Rasta, your God dead. And it moves stronger and stronger now. So there's nothing that can stop this right now. These arguments about death and burial and not dead and not dead, that have no importance to the spirituality that define Rastafari this time.
Give thanks, Father Muta. We have a text that reads, it's true of the Rastafarian demonization of African spirituality. Does MUTABARUKA know of the Rastafarian attack on a so-called maroon high priest elder in the hills in Highgate St. Mary? They continually broke his wooden carvings, saying that his carvings went against the biblical testament, that thou must make no...
Let the daughter talk, man. Because she not hear her better.
All right, apologies. Go on through, okay. Go on through. Go on through.
Right. It's true of the Rastafarian demonization of African spirituality. Does MUTABARUKA know of the Rastafarian attack on the so-called maroon high priest elder in the hills in Highgate St. Mary? They continually broke his wooden carvings, saying that his carvings went against a biblical statement that thou must make no graven image. Later, Rastafari would adopt the same style of carving as the elder. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware of it, but we're not saying it couldn't happen, because that's how only Rasta think that way there. That's what I'm talking about, the Christian mindset.
Yes,
it's
sir.
what Christian mindset does to people. Just like what you're talking about, you know, the fundamentalist man there. Rastas in Jamaica view things that is not Christian, anti-Christian, anti-Christ. You understand? So when I hear man talk about, if you listen to the music, you will understand it.
Yeah.
Most of the music them that people talk, them are telling you, boy, right now, them are not over, them are not viral, and them are not spiritual and all these things. Listen to the music and you will recognize the Judeo-Christian mindset in this mentality.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know of what to say happen, but I won't be surprised if it happens.
All right, Elder Muta, there's another text. Greetings, all our Kebelan and Galaxy family. This is Mark Culture. Is religion not about reclaiming our identity in relation to God? A question. If we are all gods, what is the size of God in everything? How does the atom come into it?
What is the size of God's inheritance?
In everything. Don't ask me.
What is the size? Come again.
The question is, what if we are all gods? What is the size of God in everything? How does the atom come into it?
You're asking how the atom come into?
Yeah, it sounds like the text is asking to relate God to science, yeah, and things like the atom and space and time in terms of humanity and human consciousness. That's what it sounds like.
I don't understand.
Yeah, it's all right. We're gonna hand over to our resident guest, Brother Mutar. Stay on the line, yeah. We're gonna go, Brother Leader.
Yeah. Say it again. I want to answer it, so I want to understand it.
All right. What we're gonna do, Father Mutar, we're gonna get because I think Brother Leader Bandaka seems to have a understanding of the question. So maybe through his answering, you might get a better appreciation. So stay on the line.
Yeah, 10-9 Moari.
10 more.
Yeah, brothers and sisters who've been listening would have heard the emphasis that Brother Muta has put on the fact that Rastafari is a revival of African spiritual cultural retentions. In our shown in the Shona language of Zimbabwe, there is an expression "Mwari kwese kwese," meaning the God, the omnipresent. We could interpret that as God or the creator in African tradition being the totality of the universe, which is manifested in all that is. So that the essence of the divine creator of the universe, the spirit, the spiritual force that is the essence of life in the universe, is in all things upon creation. So the concept of God. What was the question again? Is this okay?
If God is in everything,
yeah.
What is the size of God?
So we have to So we have to understand that the creator is the totality of the universe. It's a life force that permeates it's the energy force that permeates all life force in the universe. So that so science is also a manifestation of the nature of the creator. And therefore, to understand the creator, our ancestors investigated nature, all aspects of nature, and saw made analysis of the creator in the physical forms of nature, but also in the unseen essence of nature as well. Yeah, so that would be a sort of short answer,
right?
And I don't know if that helps Brother MUTABARUKA to get an angle on what the question was asking.
Okay, before Elder replies, this text says, "Is some types of slavery okay as a punishment? If it is, are Rastafari fighting a lost cause?"
Did you hear that, MUTABARUKA?
It's what?
Come again, Mama Kai. Come again.
Is some types of slavery okay as punishment? If it is, are Rastafari fighting a lost cause?
Rastafari fight a lost.
Reparations.
Reparations is not a lost cause, man. Or can be a lost cause. Reparations is a just cause. Nothing that Rastafari is a lost cause. People say that because they're very pessimistic, they're looking for the glass half empty.
Yes, sir.
I don't believe in I don't understand people with lost cause. Lost cause is when people give up. Why don't give up? I don't see Rasta giving up. So reparation is something that is necessary and important not only for Rasta, but for African people who were sold into slavery by white people. So it's not a lost cause. It's something that will happen. It's something that will happen. We're not asking that we know that will happen. Not a lost cause. There's no lost cause. In Rasta.
All right. Yes, Uncle Muta. Quick, a question here. We're going to be wrapping up the show in 5 minutes. But I have heard one of your brethren, Miguel Lone, well-known Rastafari brethren, say words to the effect that the more we affirm the humanity of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, is the more we affirm His divinity, or something to that effect. He said. Could you explain that philosophy for our listeners?
The humanity of what?
Miguel Lone, I'm quoting Miguel Lone, or shall I say I'm paraphrasing Miguel Lone, who said something to the effect that the more we affirm the humanity of Haile Selassie, is the more we affirm his divinity, or something like that. Him did say,
You see, lack of information. I agree with what you're saying.
Yes,
but I am saying to you that lack of information lead to superstition, and the reason why a lot of people see Haile Selassie as a supernatural being is because they want to create God in them. They want to be a big word anthropomorphic.
Right.
They want to create God in their own image. The concept of God was created by man already. Every concept of God comes from man. There's no concept of God that don't derive from the mind of man. So when you look on Haile Selassie, it's ridiculous to see a supernatural person. There's no supernatural manifestation of any human being on earth or off of the earth. So It's a real thing I work with, Bertrand. It's a real thing. It's real. Haile Selassie. Watch out. I might say something very contradictory and now very weird. Haile Selassie higher than God. You see, God is something man create.
Yes.
It's not man create Haile Selassie. So when I say Haile Selassie, I look at God, and I look at something higher than God.
Yes, sir.
You understand? So the humanity of Haile Selassie is what I look on and see the divinity of Haile Selassie.
Yes, sir.
Because the divinity of Haile Selassie must reside in I also.
Yes, sir.
So when I look at him, I have to see myself in him, To see the goodness in you have to see the goodness in somebody else. To see the goodness in somebody else, you have to see the goodness in you.
All right, Father Muta, we got a few minutes and we want to take one more call. So we're going to take this call very, very quickly. Sister Shanice, greetings, Sister Shanice. We you have 1 minute, so we don't yam into SG Vibes time. Go ahead, Sister Shanice.
Thank you so much. Greetings, family. Greetings, MUTABARUKA. I'm looking at an article here that's reporting about Colorado in America, and the fact that they've brought in over £999 million in 2015 from medical and recreational marijuana. Now, clearly, that sort of income could go a long way in Jamaica in terms of helping Jamaica with its economic development and creating jobs and opportunities for people in Jamaica. And as far as I'm concerned, Jamaica has the best marijuana in the world. So I was wondering what the government or other businesses in Jamaica are doing or ought to be doing to position themselves to take over the industry around medical and recreational marijuana.
Give thanks for that, Sister Shanice, pertaining to the marijuana question. Muta, did you hear that? We all have a minute, Brother Muta, yeah?
All right. It's positioning themselves in Jamaica.
Yes, sir.
For the onslaught, I also before, I think Rastafari is more educated now and is more aware business-wise. I think they are positioning themselves in Jamaica for that onslaught. So I am not worrying about it, even though a lot of people is worrying, but I am not really worrying.
Yes, sir. All right, overstood. Right, Uncle Muta, we're going to wrap up the show. We're going to get some closing words from Brother Leader Bandaka. Stay on the line.
Tonight, Mwari, 2 quick points. Yes. In relation to the caller who asks about voodoo.
Yes.
Just to say very quickly, in addition to the response that Brother Muta made, that what we call voodoo is an ancient African spiritual system that originates with, it is believed originates with the Fon people of Benin, and is practiced in various other parts of West Africa. And the proper name is Vodun, which is mispronounced as voodoo. Time doesn't allow to say more on that, but it's important. The term Vodun in essence means divine spiritual force.
Yes, or great spirit.
Or great, yeah. Tendai Mwari. And finally, to just to say to Brother Muta that notwithstanding what he has said in terms of the Mali family having the right to use their father's name in order to secure their family commercially, I do have some sympathy with Bonnie Wheeler and other Africans in Jamaica who have concerns about the prospect of a multinational corporation actually muscling in on the commercial benefits of ganja. Yeah. Again, time doesn't allow to have a proper discussion on that, but I just wanted to just make that point. And just to say in closing, it's been great having one of our international cultural icons on the program this evening.
Yes, sir.
And this show has been a very popular show. I want you to know, Brother Muta, it's been a very, very popular show. Lots of people are listening to you right across the UK, and I'm sure across the world, because we have listeners outside of the UK. And we want to thank you and extend our love, and just close, as I always do, in the words of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey. Unite, organize now or perish. Rise, you mighty African people, for you can accomplish whatever you will. Rumbidzo kuna mwari Africa, to the God of Africa be the glory. Tendai mwari.
Yes. Tendai mwari. And once again, MUTABARUKA, thank you on behalf of the Al-Kebla and Revivalist movement for featuring in our show today. And I would also like to thank you on behalf of the Best Kept Secret Spoken Word Collective, because you came to our show in 2009 when you came to London, surprised us and turned up at our Gangland show. So thank you very much for both of those two things.
Good thanks.
Yes, I. Stay on the line, please, Uncle Muta. Tune in next week, Kings and Queens, as we continue to talk it straight and make it plain. Next up is the man they call SG Vibes, returning you to the musical vibrations. It's Galaxy Radio, the only de-brainwashing station. Around here we say, Tendai Mwari Rastafari.
Al-Kebelan presents Nomo, the informative and uplifting monthly session for the African family. This month, Friday the 29th of April 2016, Lioness on the Rise, Part 2, Sister Soldiers, Now and the Future. Featuring Nahanda Sankofa of Sankofa Rising.
Whatever we have lost can be reclaimed, revived and perpetuated.
And Toya RBG of Reparations March Committee.
I want to be a teacher in this and make the children learn about the reparations.
Come and have your say. Al-Kebelan Nomo, Lioness on the Rise, Part 2, Sister Soldiers, Now and the Future. Friday the 29th of April 2016 at Mama Africa Culture Shop, 282 High Road Leighton, London, E10 5PW. Doors open 7 p.m. and admission is a mere £3. Under 21s are free. Coming straight from work, don't worry, hot food will be on sale. Books, DVDs and educational materials also on sale. For more information, contact 020 85